I got served for stalking my ex-wife across 4 states. While on house arrest, my brother played concerned. Then I found out he was the one helping her. So I went nuclear. Hey Reddit, so I, 29 male, 6 months into a 9-month house arrest sentence for securities fraud, doing remote dev work from a 600 square foot dump in Columbus. Divorced 5 months prior. Got a nice little ankle bracelet pinging my location every 30 seconds like it's got a personal vendetta against me. This thing is no joke. Tamper-proof casing, cellular and GPS redundancy, battery backup that'll scream bloody murder if you look at it funny. My probation officer explained it real clear during installation. This thing talks to satellites, cell towers, and our monitoring center simultaneously. You sneeze outside your boundary, we know about it before you finish wiping your nose. County bills me $8 a day for the privilege of being tracked. I know, because they send me the invoice monthly, like it's some kind of subscription service I signed up for. Process server shows up looking nervous when he hands me the papers, probably because I started laughing. Dude did not like that one bit. You good, man? He asks, taking a step back like I might bite. Yeah, I'm fantastic. Ripped open the envelope, scanned the first page, then I really lost it. That dark, hollow, twisted kind of laugh that makes people uncomfortable. My ex-wife Chelsea was suing me for $425,000, said I'd been stalking her across 4 states for 6 months straight, following her to work in Detroit, showing up at her apartment in Chicago, photographing her through coffee shop windows in Indianapolis, sending threatening messages from burner phones. 22 documented incidents with dates, times, witness statements, the whole production. Here's the thing, though. I looked down at my ankle, at the black GPS unit that would have had cops dragging me back to county if I'd wandered more than 200 feet from this apartment. Chelsea knew I was under house arrest. She'd cleaned out our joint accounts before the feds could freeze anything, walked away with about $180,000 in cash, and left me a note that said, "Hope prison teaches you something." Real classy. I'd sued her for theft of marital assets 4 months back. Discovery was moving forward, and she was staring down some serious consequences. Now she's claiming I terrorized her across 4 states while wearing a GPS monitor. This wasn't random revenge. This was her calculated play to poison my theft case before it buried her. Have a good one, process server says, practically sprinting back to his car like I might follow him. I shut the door and read the whole lawsuit start to finish. March 22nd, allegedly outside her office in Detroit. My GPS had me here eating lo mein and debugging code for 6 hours straight. April 17th, supposedly in Chicago at some bar watching her. Nope. I was on a call with my dev team in Mumbai until 2 a.m. June 3rd. Indianapolis at a shopping center. That was the day Benjamin brought groceries, and we watched hockey until my eyes glazed over. Every single incident was physically impossible for me to have committed. The lawsuit had dates, times, locations, detailed description. Subject observed in vehicle outside residence. Subject photographed at coffee shop while appearing to take pictures. Subject sent threatening text message from unknown number. Chelsea's attorney had done his homework on building the narrative. Too bad he completely skipped the part about checking if his client's story made basic physical sense given my actual situation. Phone buzzed. Benjamin, my brother. I'd texted him right after, just, "Chelsea's suing me. She's claiming I've been stalking her," I told him. Across 4 states, while wearing a GPS monitor. Benjamin sounded genuinely pissed. Is she out of her mind? Desperate. My theft case is about to bury her. This is her smokescreen. Whatever you need, bro. I'm here. Benjamin had been consistent. Only family member who didn't ghost me after the conviction. Showed up every week without fail. Brought groceries, made sure I wasn't losing my mind sitting in isolation day after day. When everyone else decided I was radioactive waste, he stuck around. Said family means something. I believed him. Called my lawyer. Chelsea's suing me for stalking. 425. Says I've been following her around the Midwest. That's impossible. You're under electronic monitoring. GPS puts me right here during every alleged incident. But she's got photos, witness statements, pictures of me at these locations. My lawyer went quiet. This is retaliation. She's trying to tank your credibility before the theft judgment hits. Send everything. We'll move to dismiss and go after fees and sanctions for bad faith litigation. After we hung up, I pulled my monitoring data. Someone was setting me up, and they'd put real work into it. 3 weeks before the lawsuit, I'd gotten a cease and desist from some attorney. Threatened criminal charges if I didn't stop contacting Chelsea, stop following her, stop harassing her. Forwarded it to my lawyer, completely confused. Any contact with Chelsea since the divorce? Haven't talked to anyone except my PO, delivery guys, Benjamin, and you. But the attorney's letter claimed Chelsea had documentation. Dates, incidents, witnesses. My lawyer told them I was under electronic monitoring and their claims were impossible. They didn't care. Benjamin was there that night when the cease and desist came. On my couch eating takeout, helping organize financial docs for the theft case. Chelsea's desperate, Benjamin said. Your lawsuit's airtight. She took 180 grand before the feds could freeze anything. Now she's scrambling. She's gonna lose both cases. Stay aggressive, bro. Documents, character witnesses, legal fees, whatever you need. I'm here. The securities fraud conviction still burned me up. Feds claimed I ran an insider trading scheme through offshore accounts, made $340,000 in illegal profits over 18 months, had trading logs from my API keys, emails from my accounts, wire transfers to shell companies I supposedly created in jurisdictions I'd never even heard of. Problem was, I didn't do any of it. Not a single trade. Took a plea deal anyway because fighting it meant risking 15 years if I lost at trial. Public defender laid it out cold. Evidence looked damning even though it was fabricated. Feds had a 97% conviction rate, and the judge was known for harsh sentences on white-collar cases. Take the deal. 4 years with possibility of house arrest after 4 months. Or roll the dice and probably die in prison as an old man. I took the deal. Spent 4 months in county, then got house arrest based on good behavior and nonviolent status. But I never figured out who actually ran those trades. Someone used my credentials, my accounts, my identity to pull off the fraud and let me take the fall for it. I'd spent months trying to investigate on my own, but every lead went completely cold. Eventually just focused on surviving my sentence and going after Chelsea for the money she stole. Now the lawsuit arrived with attachments. Photographs. Lawyer sent them over that evening. Benjamin was still there, brought dinner, and we opened the files on my laptop together. Photos showed a guy who looked like me. Same height, same build, same dark hair, and general vibe. Standing outside an office building in Detroit, half hidden behind a car like he was watching someone. Sitting in a Chicago bar window, watching Chelsea's table across the room. Walking behind her in an Indianapolis mall parking lot. Close enough to be concerning. Holy crap, Benjamin said, leaning in close to the screen. That does look like you. That's creepy as hell. Resemblance was solid. Close enough that someone who'd been married to me for 4 years might absolutely buy it at first glance. But it's not me, I said. GPS proves it. Who the hell would go to this much trouble? This is professional level planning. Someone really wants to help Chelsea destroy my credibility. Benjamin looked worried. You think they're connected? Your fraud case and this? Don't know. But Chelsea's motivated to kill my lawsuit. Lawyer filed a motion to dismiss. Attached my complete GPS logs for every single date in Chelsea's lawsuit. Motion argued I was under court-ordered electronic monitoring. My location was tracked continuously by the state, and the data definitively proved I was home during every single alleged incident. We also went after fees and sanctions for bad faith litigation. First hearing got pushed back twice. Once because the clerk filed our motion in the wrong docket like an amateur. Once because the judge's calendar was a complete dumpster fire. What should have been a month became 12 weeks of waiting. Sat in my apartment watching legal fees stack up, while Chelsea's attorney fought everything like it was the last chopper out of Saigon. Chelsea's attorney claimed GPS data could be falsified, that electronic systems malfunction all the time, that photographic evidence supersedes electronic records in reliability. Said my theft lawsuit proved vindictive behavior that supported her stalking allegations against me. My probation officer provided an affidavit. I'd been compliant for 180 days straight. Monitoring device was working perfectly throughout. Any unauthorized movement would have triggered immediate alerts to law enforcement. Then Chelsea's next filing dropped text messages. Dozens of threatening texts from burners over 5 months. Saw you at the gym yesterday. Red tank top looks good on you. Your new boyfriend's a downgrade. Moving apartments won't help. I know where you are. Benjamin was there when my lawyer sent them. Read through them at my kitchen table. These don't even sound like you, Benjamin said. This possessive crap isn't your style. Exactly. But Chelsea's desperate enough to manufacture anything. This whole thing is coordinated. Benjamin pushed back from the table, pacing. Someone's helping Chelsea fabricate evidence. We need to figure out who benefits. Good question. I'd burned bridges with the conviction. Lost business partners' money. Made enemies in finance. But Chelsea had the clearest motive. Kill my theft lawsuit before it bankrupted her. What about Chelsea's new boyfriend? Benjamin asked. She mentioned someone named Hayden in her depot, videographer. Benjamin nodded slow. Jealous boyfriend? Professional camera gear? Opportunity to stage photos? Makes sense. Lawyer brought in Cameron, a cybersecurity analyst, to help analyze the messages and photos professionally. Cost another $8 grand I definitely didn't have, but Lawyer said we needed a credentialed expert or the judge wouldn't take our defense seriously enough. Cameron showed up with his laptop and that, I'm not sleeping until this makes sense, energy that I immediately appreciated. Benjamin insisted on being there, acting helpful, but weirdly invested in every detail of the process. Kept asking questions about what we'd subpoena, about timeline, about next steps. Thought he was just being supportive at the time. Lawyer set up video so I could participate from my apartment while staying compliant. Cameron walked through his findings methodically. Guy had credentials, 15 years doing digital forensics for insurance fraud cases, expert witness testimony in multiple states, reputation for finding what others missed. My lawyer had worked with him on several cases before. All wins. These texts were sent during times your GPS shows you home, Cameron explained. Cell tower data should show signals from towers near your location if you'd sent them. Pulled up the photos. Professional composition, lighting compensation, rule of thirds, techniques suggesting experienced videography, different phones over 6 months, but quality and composition are consistent. So they're staged? Lawyer asked. Definitely. And there's more. Cameron zoomed in. Most metadata was stripped, but some EXEF survived. A few photos have embedded GPS coordinates that don't match claimed locations, taken from across the street with a telephoto lens. Benjamin leaned forward. So someone with professional camera equipment followed Chelsea, photographed someone who looks like Jonathan, sent the images to make it look like surveillance? Exactly, Cameron said. This is sophisticated. Someone with technical knowledge, videography skills, serious motivation. The boyfriend, I said. Hayden, freelance videographer. If Chelsea loses the theft case, she's bankrupt. No future with her. Cameron nodded. I'll pull what I can from public records and social media. Results came back 12 days later. Hayden, 31, freelance videographer and drone operator. Lived in Detroit before moving to Chicago 9 months ago, right when the alleged stalking started. Social media showed Indianapolis visits at various times. But the interesting part was his history. Been engaged 2 years earlier to a woman in Detroit who broke it off citing controlling behavior. She'd filed a police report saying Hayden stalked her after their breakup. Charges dropped after he agreed to a restraining order and anger management. Documented stalking history, Cameron explained during our next call. Benjamin there again, listening close. Professional who understands image manipulation. Dating Chelsea for about 7 months, overlapping perfectly with when incidents began. Financially tied to her. If the theft case bankrupts Chelsea, Hayden loses his meal ticket. Lawyer filed an emergency motion requesting permission to depose Hayden and subpoena his records for the case. Chelsea's attorney acted like we'd asked permission to waterboard his client. Protective motions, harassment claims, demands for proof before we could start discovery. The whole defensive playbook. Spent 2 months watching him argue Hayden was irrelevant to the allegations, while simultaneously listing him as Chelsea's key witness in her filings. Meanwhile, I'm burning through money I don't have, so some judge won't think I'm making excuses for behavior I couldn't have committed. Lawyers started firing off subpoenas for security footage everywhere. Next 2 months was straight trench warfare. Everyone wanted money for retrieval. Everyone suddenly couldn't find footage. Every place had the same magical 14-day retention window that conveniently reset the second you needed their records. 2 subpoenas came back completely useless. Footage overwritten or system errors nobody could explain. Chelsea's attorney fought every single request, filing protective motions and crying harassment until the judge said produce what we're asking for or explain yourself under oath. But the scraps told the story. Hayden's easy pass putting him on the road during dates, I allegedly stalked her in different states. Gas station receipts along the routes. Carrier records and cell data putting his phone in the area on exact dates my GPS had me in Columbus. Security footage catching his car once, plate hits elsewhere. Enough lined up, and the gaps lined up too. Then Chelsea's attorney emailed my lawyer. She wanted to settle. Lawyer forwarded the message. Chelsea would drop the stalking lawsuit if I paid her $50,000 for relocation costs and emotional trauma, and withdrew my theft case with prejudice. Called my lawyer immediately. She's trying to cash out. That's exactly what this is, he agreed. She knows GPS data is solid, knows Hayden's history is problematic, trying to exit before it gets worse while killing your theft case. Tell her no. We're going to trial on both. Lawyer sent back 1 sentence. Client declines. Lawyer was reviewing everything with me via video. Benjamin on my couch eating leftover pizza, listening to every word on speaker. This is enough, lawyer said. We can corner the narrative. Hayden was conducting the surveillance, not you. Cameron added, classic abuser tactic. Create the threat. Position yourself as the solution. Then we got the rest. Hayden bought burner phones with cash over months. Same phones used for threatening texts. Travel records put him in multiple states on dates I allegedly stalked Chelsea. Phone records showed obsessive behavior, hundreds of calls and texts, tracking her location constantly through an app he'd installed. That's when things got interesting. Cameron called me one afternoon. Benjamin happened to be there, dropping off groceries and helping organize documents for my fraud case appeal. Jonathan, we got Hayden's phone and email through Discovery. Export included unsent drafts, planning docs, and payment records for someone named Jude. Looks like Jude's the guy in the photos. So Hayden hired someone to impersonate me? Exactly. Jude's an aspiring actor from Detroit who's done modeling for Hayden's business. We tracked him down. Interview happened next day. Jude confirmed enough. Story matched the paper trail. Hayden hired him for shoots over 6 months, paid cash per session, told him it was a creative project about urban surveillance. Jude had no idea he was being used to frame someone. He showed me reference photos, Jude said in his recorded statement. Wanted me to match this specific person's style. Casual clothes, similar posture, same haircut. He'd direct where to stand, how to position myself. Felt like legit artistic work. But while Cameron was going through Hayden's financials from Discovery, he found something else. Something that made him call an emergency meeting. Cameron's voice on the call was careful. Need to show you something from the Hayden financial discovery. Might be nothing, but it's odd. Cameron, my lawyer, and me on the call. Benjamin in my kitchen again, parked beside me like he'd moved in. Cameron shared his screen. Hayden's bank records show he's drowning in debt from a failed business. Standard motive for helping Chelsea avoid bankruptcy from Jonathan's theft case. But while cross-referencing Hayden's contractors, I noticed something weird in Jonathan's original securities fraud files. Pulled up a document. The shell company that received wire transfers in Jonathan's fraud case was Vertex Solutions LLC, standard offshore setup. But Hayden paid a consultant for tech services about 18 months ago. Same shell company pattern, similar incorporation structure. That's a coincidence, Benjamin said quick. Lots of people use shell companies for freelance work. Right, Cameron said. But when we pulled incorporation agent info for Jonathan's original case, the registered agent listed a recovery email. That same email domain shows up in Discovery as a contact for freelance services Hayden used. I felt cold. What's that mean? Could be nothing. But I started digging into the original securities fraud case. Trades were executed using Jonathan's API keys from an IP masked through VPN. But there's backup authentication data from the trading platform. Cross-referenced login times with network logs, found something. Cameron pulled up a technical doc. Multiple logins to Jonathan's accounts from a device in Columbus during the fraudulent trades. Device fingerprint shows a MacBook Pro. When I checked case files, there's photos Jonathan's public defender submitted showing his home office setup. Zoomed in on one photo. Laptop visible in the background, not Jonathan's main workstation. Someone else's device was in that office regularly during the fraud. Stomach dropped. Benjamin helped me set up my home office 3 years ago. He was there constantly back then, working on his own stuff while I was trading. Whose laptop? Lawyer asked. Don't know yet, Cameron said. But we should look into it. Jonathan, anyone else have regular access to your office during that time? Just Benjamin, I said, quiet. My brother was there constantly, helping with tech setup, using my Wi-Fi for his freelance work. Silence stretched. Could hear Benjamin breathing beside me. Benjamin shifted. This is getting weird. You think my old laptop has something to do with Jonathan's fraud case? Why would we even be looking at that? I was just helping my brother. Question hit wrong. Too defensive? Too specific about what we shouldn't investigate. When lawyer mentioned subpoenaing carriers and date ranges, Benjamin immediately asked which ones and what time frames, like he was the one paying. Not accusing anyone, Cameron said careful, but we need to examine every angle. These shell company patterns, the device access, the timing, worth looking into. Jonathan, did Benjamin have access to your password manager or trading accounts? He helped me set up my password manager 3 years ago. We shared a lot of tech access back then. Hands felt numb. 3 years of lies. 6 months visiting me every week during house arrest. 3 years pretending to be supportive while making sure I never looked too close at who actually committed the fraud. After the call, Benjamin looked uncomfortable. Jonathan, you know I didn't have anything to do with your fraud case, right? I was just helping with tech stuff. Cameron's reaching because the Hayden case is complicated. I would never... I know, I said. But doubt was creeping in, and Benjamin was talking too much, explaining too hard. Cameron called back 2 hours later. Jonathan, we pulled forensic data from your original case. Backup logs from your password manager show your trading credentials were accessed from a device in Columbus during the fraudulent trades. Device fingerprint matches laptops commonly used by freelance developers and designers. Benjamin is a freelance graphic designer. I said quiet. I know. I'm digging deeper. Give me a few days. Those few days felt like months. Sat in my apartment, GPS monitor, chirping its regular check-ins, watching Benjamin careful during his visits. He was asking more questions now, pushing me hard to focus on Hayden, suggesting we shouldn't waste time on old cases that were already settled, getting weirdly specific about what we shouldn't bother investigating. Every visit felt like surveillance. Like he was making sure I wasn't connecting dots he didn't want connected. Lawyer worked quietly in the background, subpoenaed Benjamin's financial records, arguing that understanding who else might have motive to frame Jonathan was relevant to the ongoing stalking case. Benjamin's attorney tried to block it, claimed privacy concerns, filed protective motions, took another month of fighting to get the production order. Records came back late September. Benjamin was deep in debt from failed investments and margin calls, had been for 3 years, right around the time I'd been convicted. Then Cameron found the wire transfers, small amounts over time, structured to avoid detection, adding up to $340,000 total, coming from accounts connected to shell companies used in my fraud case, going into Benjamin's accounts through carefully layered transfers. The timeline was absolutely devastating. Benjamin had taken $340,000 from the insider trading scheme, the exact amount the feds claimed I'd made. He'd been in my office regularly during that entire period, had complete access to my credentials, had the technical knowledge to execute the trades without leaving obvious traces. And he'd let me plead guilty to his crimes, watched me do it. Probably felt relieved. Cameron presented everything to Lawyer and me during a video call in early November. Jonathan, I believe your brother framed you for the securities fraud. The evidence shows he had access to your accounts, had the technical capability to execute the trades, had strong financial motive from his mounting debt, and received the money from the offshore accounts through layered transfers. He let you take the plea deal while he kept the profits. Sat in my apartment feeling my entire world collapse around me. Why would he do that to me? The debt, Cameron said. Benjamin was drowning 3 years ago. Margin calls piling up, failed trades everywhere, mounting interest crushing him. He panicked and made a choice. Used your credentials because he had access and because you'd make a plausible target if the trades ever got flagged. When the feds investigated, he stayed quiet and let you take the fall for everything. But he's been visiting me every week for 6 months, I said, trying to make it make sense. Making sure you didn't investigate, Lawyer said quiet. Every single visit was damage control. He needed to know what you were thinking, what you were looking into, who you were talking to about the old case. Benjamin showed up that evening, dropping off groceries like always. Didn't confront him about anything. Not yet. Sat at my kitchen table eating takeout. Watched him careful the entire time. Looking for any sign of guilt on his face. Looking for the lie underneath the supportive brother act I'd been watching for 6 months. You okay? Benjamin asked. You seem distracted tonight. Just thinking about Chelsea's case. Cameron's helping prove Hayden fabricated everything against me. That's good news, right? You'll be cleared, her smokescreen collapses completely, your theft lawsuit destroys her financially. Yeah, it's good. But I was thinking about Cameron's evidence the entire conversation. 3 years of lies staring me in the face. 4 months in county jail and 6 months under house arrest for crimes my own brother committed while sitting on this very couch pretending to care about me. After Benjamin left, I called Cameron immediately. Need you to verify every single thing before we move forward. Need to be absolutely certain this is what it looks like. I understand. I'm being extremely thorough. Give me another week to nail it down. Verification came methodically over the next several weeks. Lawyer coordinated with FBI's Financial Crimes Division, presented Cameron's evidence, requested access to old case files, and forensic data from my original investigation. They moved slow. Government agencies always do when it doesn't benefit them, but they moved forward. FBI's forensic accountants traced the money over 6 weeks of painstaking work. Every wire transfer from the offshore accounts eventually reached Benjamin through various intermediary accounts designed to hide the trail. The trading platform's security logs showed fraudulent trades were executed from IP addresses in Columbus during times when I was provably elsewhere, at client meetings, on work trips, at locations with time-stamped evidence proving I couldn't have been home. But someone in Columbus with access to my home office and credentials could have made those trades. Someone like Benjamin. FBI's technical team analyzed device fingerprints from authentication logs, cross-referenced the data with Benjamin's laptop purchase records, and registration info they pulled through subpoenas. The fingerprints matched a MacBook Pro Benjamin had owned during that period, one he'd upgraded about a year after my conviction. Forensic evidence was overwhelming. Benjamin committed the securities fraud, used my credentials, my accounts, my identity, let me plead guilty, visited weekly to maintain the facade and make sure I never investigated. Cameron presented everything to lawyer and me during a video call in early November. FBI is ready to move on charges against Benjamin. Wire fraud, securities fraud, identity theft, obstruction of justice. They're already building warrants and don't want him wiping devices or moving money once he realizes you're looking at him. Civil mess was background noise that helped keep him calm. He's my brother, I said quiet. He framed you for federal crimes and let you serve time for them, Cameron said. Didn't sleep that night. Just sat in my apartment going over every conversation with Benjamin over 6 months. Every visit, every supportive word, every offer to help, every time he'd steered me away from investigating the fraud case. Looking for the lie underneath it all, Cameron worked with lawyer to proceed with the stalking case first. Needed to get Chelsea's lawsuit dismissed, expose Hayden's scheme, secure my theft judgment against Chelsea, then quietly build the case against Benjamin without tipping him off. 3 weeks later, meeting with Chelsea and her attorney. Lawyer attended in person. I joined via video. Cameron presented evidence against Hayden methodically. Background check showing Hayden's stalking conviction. Photos proving professional staging. Financial records showing burner phone purchases. Security footage showing Hayden following Chelsea obsessively. Jude's testimony about being hired to impersonate me. Toll records putting Hayden on the road every time I allegedly stalked her in different states. Chelsea's face went pale as evidence stacked up. She'd been so desperate to avoid the theft judgment, she never questioned Hayden's convenient evidence. Never asked how I could stalk her from house arrest. He proposed last month, Chelsea said quiet. Said I needed time. He got angry. Grabbed my arm hard enough to leave bruises. Rolled up her sleeve. Dark purple finger marks circled her forearm. Chelsea's attorney looked sick. Chelsea, we need to involve law enforcement immediately, and I'm filing an emergency motion to withdraw this lawsuit. Before he could finish, my lawyer put a folder on the table. Before we discuss withdrawal, let's talk about Chelsea's settlement offer. The one where she demanded $50,000 to drop a lawsuit she knew was false and tried to force Jonathan to abandon his legitimate theft claim. Chelsea's attorney went pale. What? Your client tried to extort my client while knowingly pursuing false charges. We have the email. We'll be including it in our bad faith claim. Meeting ended with Chelsea agreeing to cooperate with police, her attorney withdrawing the lawsuit with prejudice, and lawyer negotiating a settlement where Chelsea paid my legal fees, $67,000, and agreed not to contest my theft case. Judge entered judgment in my favor for $180,000 on the theft case. Total recovery around $247,000. Hayden was arrested 2 weeks later, charged with stalking, harassment, witness tampering, and conspiracy to commit fraud. Chelsea's cooperation and the mountain of evidence Cameron compiled made the prosecution straightforward. He pleaded guilty to avoid trial and got 6 years. Chelsea called 2 days after the settlement, crying, begging me not to report her settlement offer to her employer or the state bar. You tried to extort me, Chelsea, while I was under house arrest. While you knew Hayden was actually stalking you, you were willing to destroy me to save yourself. I made a mistake. Please, Jonathan. No, you made a choice. Now you live with it. But I wasn't thinking about Chelsea anymore. I was thinking about my brother. 3 years of lies. 6 months of fake support while he made sure I never discovered his betrayal. Benjamin called that evening, excited. Bro, heard the lawsuit got dismissed. That's amazing. And you're getting money back from Chelsea. Should celebrate when you're off house arrest. Yeah, I said. Good news. You don't sound happy. I'm tired. Been a long process. I get it, but you're almost free. Few more months and that ankle monitor comes off. Then we can get back to normal. Normal. Like he hadn't destroyed my life to save his own. After we hung up, I called Cameron. How long until FBI moves on Benjamin? Finalizing the warrant now. Probably few weeks. They wanted to wait until you were officially cleared in the stalking case and secured your judgment against Chelsea. That happened yesterday. So they're moving forward. What are his chances? Evidence is overwhelming. Looking at 8 to 12 years federal time if convicted. And he will be convicted. FBI arrested Benjamin 6 weeks later at his apartment. Early morning raid, multiple agents, local police backup for containment. Charged with wire fraud, securities fraud, identity theft, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy to commit all of the above. Bail set at $500,000. He couldn't make it. Not even close. His neighbors watched from their windows as agents led him out in handcuffs. Someone filmed the whole thing on their phone. Video hit local news by afternoon. I didn't watch it more than twice. He called me from county jail that evening, confused and panicked. Jonathan, what the hell is happening? FBI arrested me. They're saying I committed securities fraud using your accounts. This is insane. I stayed quiet. Jonathan? You there? This is some mistake. You have to help me. You're my brother. Cameron found the evidence, Benjamin. Wire transfers, device logs, authentication records. You used my credentials 3 years ago. Made $340,000 while I was at client meetings and work trips. Let me plead guilty to federal crimes you committed. Silence on the line. You visited me dozens of times, I continued. Brought groceries, acted supportive, made sure I never investigated who really ran those trades. Every question you asked, every time you pushed me to focus on Hayden and not the old case, that was you protecting yourself? Jonathan, I was drowning. Debt was crushing me. I panicked. Thought you'd just get probation, maybe house arrest. Didn't think it would destroy your life like this? You watched me plead guilty. Watched me spend 4 months in county jail. Watched me get that ankle monitor locked onto my leg. And you said nothing. I wanted to tell you. Was trying to figure out how. You had 6 months of visits to tell the truth. You didn't because you weren't feeling guilty. You were making sure I didn't discover what you'd done. Jonathan, please, I'm your brother. We can work this out. I hung up. Lawyer filed an emergency motion next day. Not a victory lap. Asked the court to yank the ankle monitor immediately because underlying facts were rotten, then deal with the conviction on a real schedule. Prosecutor didn't fight the monitor part once FBI's financial tracing started matching Cameron's work. Judge didn't forgive anything. She just modified my conditions pending review and set a fast hearing date. Monitor came off first. Actual vacatur came after paper trail got blessed on the record, about 3 months later, when all parties agreed conviction was unsupportable. Benjamin's attorney tried to negotiate a plea, 6 years for full restitution and cooperation. Prosecutor offered 8 years minimum. Benjamin's attorney pushed back, argued his client was remorseful and cooperative. Prosecutor sent over a file showing Benjamin visited me dozens of times during house arrest, each visit documented in visitor logs. Your client wasn't being supportive, prosecutor wrote. He was monitoring his victim to ensure his crimes stayed hidden. We're not negotiating below 8 years. Lawyer advised me on civil lawsuit strategy. We can sue Benjamin for damages, lost income, legal fees, emotional distress, looking at potentially mid-6 figures if we win. Do it. Lawyer filed the civil lawsuit against Benjamin. FBI continued building their criminal case. Benjamin's public defender kept trying to negotiate plea deals, but evidence was too strong. Prosecution wouldn't budge. Benjamin's attorney urged him to accept the 8-year deal. Benjamin refused, convinced he could negotiate better or somehow explain away the evidence at trial. He lost that gamble. Faced with overwhelming evidence at trial, jury convicted on all counts, sentencing was set. Benjamin's sentencing happened via video because I refused to appear in person. Judge presiding. She read Benjamin's crimes aloud, using his brother's identity to commit securities fraud, letting his brother take the conviction, obstructing justice by visiting his brother during house arrest to ensure his crimes stayed hidden. Mr. Benjamin, Judge said to him directly, you betrayed your brother's trust in the most calculated way possible. You didn't just commit fraud against strangers. You destroyed your own brother's life and then let him serve time for your crimes while you played the supportive family member. The presentencing report shows you visited your brother dozens of times during his house arrest, not out of love or family loyalty, but to monitor your victim and protect your own interest from discovery. The court finds this particularly egregious behavior. She sentenced him to 10 years federal prison. Benjamin's attorney protested immediately, but the judge was completely firm. The defendant showed no remorse until he was caught. He maintained a facade of support while ensuring his own crimes stayed hidden from everyone. That level of sustained deception warrants the maximum sentence this court can impose. Watched via video from my apartment. The apartment I was finally free to leave whenever I wanted, whenever I felt like it. Watched my brother's face crumble as the reality of what was happening hit him fully. 10 years federal time. He'd be in his 40s when he got out, if he behaved. His entire life destroyed the same way he destroyed mine. Felt like justice, not revenge. Lawyers' civil lawsuit against Benjamin proceeded simultaneously. Benjamin's attorney tried to negotiate settlement, roughly $400,000 paid through selling Benjamin's assets and setting up a payment plan. It's realistic, lawyer said. Could push for more, but Benjamin doesn't have it. This gets you compensated and closes the civil case. I accepted. Benjamin's apartment, car, and investment accounts were liquidated. Combined with Chelsea's judgment, I was looking at compensation in the mid-6 figures. Didn't undo 3 years of damage, but it helped. After sentencing, my probation officer called. I owe you an apology. Should have questioned the original evidence more carefully. You had no reason to doubt it. Benjamin made sure of that. My conviction was officially overturned. Record cleared completely. Brother sitting in federal prison for 10 years. Ex-wife lost her career and owed me serious money. The boyfriend who'd actually stalked her was serving 6 years. The ankle monitor that imprisoned me for 6 months also saved me. GPS data proving I couldn't have stalked Chelsea, triggering the investigation that exposed Hayden, leading to the discovery that revealed Benjamin's fraud. Same surveillance that trapped me ended up destroying him. Poetic, I guess. Deleted Benjamin's contact info, blocked his number completely, erased every photo, every text, every trace of our relationship from my phone and my life. He wasn't my brother anymore, just another criminal serving time for crimes he actually committed. Family doesn't do what he did to me, lawyer called that evening. How you holding up? Good. For the first time in 3 years, I'm not carrying anyone else's crimes. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.
Become who they are, and that's always fascinated me. And actually, I started studying psychology because I found it really interesting. You know, it just there was a new A-level available at my school, my college, and so I thought, well, that sounds okay, that sounds great, let's try it. And I was just fascinated by it, and so I kind of went with that and went to university because everybody else was going, and it seemed like that was what you do now. And so psychology felt like, you know, an interesting thing to do. I had no idea really what jobs could be at the end of it. I just kept following my interests all the way along. And actually, when people ask me advice about, you know, careers and finding your passion and all those things, that's the only advice I give people really is, you know, follow your interest, do the thing that excites you or that inspires